Welcome back to Tabletop Titans and another Titan Tactics. At the beginning of year 2022, the Adeptus Custodes Codex hit the 9th edition scene and absolutely obliterated it, only to be struck down by a swift FAQ. Here we are almost a year later, and we're seeing the rollback of those nerfs FAQs to the Adeptus Custodes. The question is today, is it enough? What are they? And what should we expect from them in the future? If you do enjoy this content, hit that like and subscribe button and ding that bell to get notified of all of our latest videos. All right, let's talk about the good news first, and there is actually quite a bit of it. First of all, you're going to get additional objectives secured on some of your core infantry. Notably, this is for the Terminators. So your large Terminators are going to get objectives secured back, which is a big deal because frankly, they kind of just languished during Nephilim with no real purpose in lists. Additionally, some of the most powerful stratagems were restricted to once per game, which was quite a harsh punishment, and that is no longer the case. You can now do them as many times as you have command points for, which is a big deal, honestly, for Custodes players. And really, this is going to help make the army more durable. That might help their scoring game, and really plays into the central concept of less units, but they're more elites, they're tougher to kill, and they're still going to score the points based off of that. Additionally, the attachment changes in Arc's development are very exciting for Adeptus Custodes. You now can select which slots are going to be your compulsory slots. So if you don't want to take 3 troops, you don't have to. I think we're still going to see Custodes still taking some troops, but not having to get the minimum of 3 squads is going to shave off extra points and unlock new possibilities. I think it's also going to see potentially a return to some of the more skew Adeptus Custodes lists, although that remains to be seen. They're saying it's the age of Space Marines, of course, which means there's lots of them running around to kill, and Custodes are happy to oblige. This is what they were meant for, right? They have lots of damage too, and frankly, they have a lot of decent AP weapons that really did suffer into Armor of Contempt. So happy to deal with all the Space Marines and can kind of bully them off the points. Last of all, of course, you are able to now take an extra captain of a certain type with the new stratagem. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see lots of lists with double bite captains because people do love them and they are quite powerful. So expect double bite captain in the near future. The bad is a pretty short list, honestly. It's a list of 3 things. There are 3 secondaries. They have not been changed at all. They did lose a secondary, which doesn't matter. And so this is still going to be a pretty tough set of secondaries to score. I'm not sure why they didn't get updated, but it means you're just going to have to still continue to lean on the core secondaries. We'll talk a bit more about that later. Point change is looking great for Custodes. There's not a lot. They actually just changed the number of points for the Sisters of Silence, the non-character types. So Prosecutors are down from 12 points to 11, 1 point reduction, and these remain the only unit out of the 3 that has objectives secured. The Witch Seekers and the Vigilators both saw a 2 point drop from 14 down to 12. I don't know if you'll see a ton of play. I really wish they gave these ladies objectives secured as well, but such is the way. They are cheaper now. So what do we think we can expect from Custodes moving forwards in Arc's development? First of all, they're going to be much more aggressive than before. Armor of Contempt being gone, lots of Marines being in place means they can play very aggressively, and they can play with these very big, tough blobs of whatever it might be. It might be Guardians, it might be Bikes, whatever, because they're able to capitalize on using all these defensive stratagems as many times as they have command points for. And that is one of the other big changes, really, is that Custodes are going to have more command points to spend, whereas during Nephilim, they kind of didn't really have amazing targets. And so it's going to be another facet of playing Custodes and also playing against them. As we mentioned, the Adeptus Custodes secondaries are pretty mediocre at best, I would say. And so they're going to be leaning on these core secondaries. Behind enemy lines did see a fantastic improvement for them. It now gives you 3 victory points if you have a unit inside of your enemy's deployment at the end of your turn. It's going to be great for not only the one-man Alar's Terminators, now objective secured, but also just for having that big tough unit that just goes straight to the heart into the enemy's deployment zone. This might be Bikes, it might be, again, infantry, whatever, even if you're playing Dreadnought spam, still pretty interesting. And so I think the improvements to these general secondaries are going to be a big boon to the Custodes. And of course, the Adeptus Custodes are all about clutch moments. Those white knuckle turns in which the opponent throws the entire army against you and you're trying to just survive, those are definitely going to return with the advent, of course, of being able to use these stratagems more often once again. And as mentioned, there's going to be a lot of interplay between you and your opponent when that happens. So with that in mind, let's take a look at a list that we played recently on the channel. I'm not saying this is the be-all, end-all list for Custodes, but it does exemplify some of the ideas that we're talking about here. You can see Bridger is taking all 4 HQ slots, including Alea, who honestly for 75 points is pretty fantastic. She just was never able to compete with the other HQ slots in the army. So having that extra slot makes her an easy shoe-in there. You notice for troops, he actually has not selected them as his compulsory slots, but he still has 2 of them. 1 throwaway unit and 1 big unit of Custodian Guardians. This unit is going to be very tough, very killy, and be able to just dive down the middle of the board, being aggressive, getting behind enemy lines and things like that later on. Speaking of behind enemy lines, Bridger does have 2 single Alaris Terminators,
They're going to be great for deep striking in that back line, scoring 3 points each turn, and potentially sniping an objective later on, since they now have an objective secured. He does, of course, have a unit of Virtus Praetors. The bikes are definitely still on the menu, and I think for those of you who are really into that, you'll be able to skew into them much in the way that you used to be able to do before. And I think just the mobility, the sheer brute force is still going to make them quite interesting on the table. So what does it mean overall? I think Custodes are happy with the changes. They're going to be more durable, more killy given the meta, and are truly back in the game again. People are going to have to start considering how to fight against Custodes, and Custodes players need to start thinking about how you guys position yourselves within the meta. There are, of course, lots of changes around them. Tyranids taking a big hit, especially Zoanthropes is fantastic for Adeptus Custodes, as well as the changes to Harlequins. So there are definitely some natural predators that Custodes are going to be happy to see taking down a peg. And of course, we want to know what you all at home think, so let us know in the comments below what you're excited about for Adeptus Custodes, what you're worried about, and let us know if we missed anything of note. It's an exciting faction with a very strong, diehard fan base, so we of course are very curious to hear what insights you might have. Of course, check out all the other amazing content covering Arcs of Omen, and if you did enjoy it, like and subscribe. That's going to be it for me. I'll catch you guys next time on the Tabletop. Bye!